Summer arrived in full force on the Turkish Riviera, as did hundreds of the world's top archers. The Mediterranean's shifting winds, notorious. They're almost always a factor, pushing arrows off course and confusing archers trying to read the breeze coming off the sea. And the heat turned up high along the rugged shores of Konyaaltı Beach, along with the pressure on everyone competing for precious points at Stage 2 of the 2017 Hyundai World Cup Tour. The season started with a few surprises in Shanghai. Not Colombia's Sara Lopez, who continued her domination of women's compound, winning a 5th straight World Cup medal. Meanwhile, Denmark's world champion Stefan Hansen finally bagged his first World Cup gold medal, something that was missing from his well-stocked trophy case. Another individual gold would elude the top seed in Turkey, but Hansen would not go home empty-handed. Today was really good. I just focused on myself. I had no big expectation for how it would go. I feel like winning the first World Cup gold medal took some of the pressure off me. I shot good in practice and I knew what to do. I just had to follow the same routine. I draw down just because of the wind. It was a little windy sometimes, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the wind that made me shoot a 9. I drew down because I have plenty of time. I have 4 minutes and I only use 3 or 2.5 minutes, so I have plenty of time to shoot. Hansen would have plenty of time to redeem himself in the team gold medal match, but he'd need some help from Martin Damsbo along with the imposing Andreas Darum. Talk about imposing, the United States put an all-star lineup on the line for this showdown. Big Steve Anderson joining forces with Braden Gelantine and Rio Wild, 2 men who've stood atop the podium at World Cup finals. Let's pick it up in the 4th end, all tied 174. The Wild man leads off for the USA, and Rio would be less than wild about the result of that attempt. But teammates are supposed to pick each other up, and Steve Anderson did just that. Gelantine got the next crack at it, but parked his arrow next to Rio's. Denmark's been given a golden opportunity, and Hansen cashes in. It would be shrewd of Mr. Darum to deliver, and he did, putting the Danes in the driver's seat, with Martin Damsbo driving his shot right down the middle for a 2-point edge with 3 shots to shoot. Back to Rio, looking for redemption. Doesn't find it. So it's up to Anderson to pick up the pieces, and he does just that. But one could sense the guillotine about to drop when Gelantine has another one get away from him. The steady, rock-solid hand of Stefan Hansen delivers a shot that seemed to nick the 9 line. Darum follows up with a solid shot, putting Denmark's experienced anchorman in perfect position to claim the gold. Damsbo drives the final dagger into the heart of his target, capping off a comeback for the Danes, who were down by 1 midway through this match. It was pretty tight in the first 2 rounds. Then in that 3rd round, they opened up a little, and then in the 4th round, they really opened up. I'm so lucky to have 2 teammates that managed to put them all in the middle when I'm not putting all of my shots in the middle. I'm always sure that my teammates will have my back. Similar situation in the women's team gold medal match. Sara Lopez, like Stefan Hansen, out to make amends after falling short of reaching the individual final for the first time in over a year. The young lady on the right, Tanja Jensen, jousting with and then jettisoning Lopez in the semis. Now she would team with Sara Sonicson and the transplant from Australia, Erica Anier. Colombia versus Denmark, Sara versus Sara. Early on, Alejandra Usquiano trying to bring Colombia back, and that would help. Nora Valdez, a new face on this squad, would drill down deep and strike gold again. and the Golden Girl would find the gold ring. But it was the one that only counts for 9. So, Tanya Jensen and company have a chance to build on their lead. Direct hit for Tanya, who toppled the top woman in compound during qualifying. A Near's arrow would land near the line. So, Sara Sonicson couldn't afford to take any chances. The Danish damsel delivering on the final shot of the first end to keep the lead for Denmark. At the midway point, this match was all even, but a strong third end gave Denmark a healthy advantage heading down the stretch. Down by 3 with just 3 to shoot, Alejandra Usquiano lets loose an arrow that drifted wide to the right. That may have helped her teammate, though, read the wind. Valdez dropping a dime with what seemed to be her final shot. To have any chance at all, the women from South America needed a 10 from the woman still regarded as the best in the business. Sara Lopez did not disappoint, nailing another one to the middle of her target. Mission accomplished. Colombia still alive, but on life support. Tanya Jensen never took her eye off that 10 ring. She set the table for her teammate, Erica Anir, who left her home down under to move thousands of miles away and try to bring gold back to the cold, the happiest nation on earth. Now that 9 would bring a happy smile to Sara Sonicson, who had the luxury of knowing it would just take 7 to win. And for Sara, shooting a 7 is like shooting fish in a barrel. The woman ranked 2nd in the world would make it back-to-back team gold medals for Denmark. The Danes capitalizing on a strong third end, riding home to a 4-point victory over Colombia. Denmark with a comfortable win over Colombia by the final score of 231 to 227. So the big question going into the mixed team gold medal match, could the Great Danes make it a clean sweep by winning gold in each of the 3 team events? They'd have to get past a tough team from Chinese Taipei to make that dream come true. But lately, Sara Sonicson and her counterpart Stefan Hansen have made a lot of their own dreams come true. Denmark living the dream after the first end, taking a 2-point lead over Chen Yiswan and Chen Shonswan. Mr. Chen opens with a 10. But his partner could not match that score. A 9 for Chen Yiswan makes Mr. Hansen's eyes light up. He knows he can pad the lead, and Stefan scores 10 more. The Danes with a 3-point advantage if Sonicson can hold up her end of the bargain. Consider it done. But Taipei doesn't seem inclined to take a backseat to anyone these days. Chen Shonswan sinks another shot in the 10 ring, only to see Chen Yiswan veer off course, ever so slightly. Hansen has got a firm grasp on the situation, and with machine-like precision gives his team another chance to build the lead. The steely-eyed Sonicson gets into the extermination business. She's out to kill spiders. That lead stands at 4 after 2 and grows to 5 points after 3 ends. The team from Taipei's got a Turkish mountain to climb. No time for slippage. But Taipei's fate takes a turn for the worse after that 9, and the sun really starts to set after Ms. Chen's attempt to find the setter. That was not a problem, though, for Stefan Hansen, as he built on the success he had in Shanghai and here at Stage 2. The same goes for Sara Sonicson, who took silver in China and was now battling for her 2nd gold medal of the day on Konyaaltı Beach. Down by 7, Chinese Taipei kept battling, but as was the case for much of this match, they struggled to put 2 good shots together. With 3 in the 9 ring on their last 4 shots, they would be at the mercy of 2 rising stars, both hungry for more of that sweet taste of victory. Hansen would groan as he unleashed his final shot, but only because it wasn't perfect. It would still count just as much as the next 10. Sara got more than enough, bringing that rocket in for a safe landing. So get out the brooms. Clean sweep for the Danish teams in Turkey.
This is how to shoot a compound bow. Archery is best practiced in a controlled environment, so visit your archery shop or range to get started. The first step to a compound archer's shot is stepping up to the shooting line, placing one foot on either side. An archer will then remove an arrow from his quiver and place it onto the rest. And clipping it to the string between the D-loop. A compound archer will then take his release aid and hook it onto the D-loop, setting his grip, preparing to draw. When an archer raises his bow, pointing towards the target, he will draw to the mechanical stop. An archer will then come into his anchor point, aligning his eye with the peep sight to his front sight and the target. The most important part of a compound archer's shot is keeping a solid position while pulling to activate his release and shoot the shot. And that is how to shoot a compound bow.
Fans in Antalya got to see a rare sight on Compound Saturday. Sara Lopez competing in a bronze medal match. After winning 31 in a row on the World Cup Tour, including the gold medal matches at the last 5 stages, Lopez lost a 2-point decision in the semis. But she quickly shook that off and turned her attention to the battle for the bronze against Iran's Parisa Barachi, who finished strong, but not strong enough to keep Lopez off the podium. It's an 8-point win for Sara, Colombia's Queen of Compound, who now has medaled at 6 straight World Cup events. No rematch for the two Super Saras. Sara Sonicson will have to wait to avenge her loss to Lopez at Stage 1 in Shanghai. No, this time, Coach Damsbo's prize pupil would face the giant killer herself, her own teammate Tanja Jensen, who came through with an almost flawless performance, dropping only 1 point in her semifinal upset of Sara Lopez. Ever the diplomat, Coach Damsbo would move the coach's box between his two archers, offering advice, encouragement, and consolation to both during the course of this inter-squad competition on a world stage. Tanja trailing by 2 going into the third end. The wind downrange whipping the starched flags and nudging Jensen's arrow off course into the red zone. That is the challenge of shooting on the shoreline of the Mediterranean Sea. A challenge Sara Sonicson would have to contend with as well. Still, she picked up another point and now led by 3. Which made it all the more imperative that Tanja shoot more 10s. Message received. Turns out, though, the message was received by both archers. Sonicson raising the level of her game. Jensen knows she's got to keep pace to stay in this game. Battling the wind and her teammate, she can only hope Sara surrenders a point or 2 to tighten up the match. Not gonna happen. So after 9 arrows, Sonicson's up by 3 points. A healthy lead, but not one that's insurmountable. That fact was not lost on anyone in the grandstands or on the field of play, especially with 2 athletes who have this much experience. So it's on to the 4th end. Tanja's still as hot as the blazing Turkish sun. She keeps the heat on Sara. And Sara responds to the pressure. Jensen cannot afford to let up, not if she wants to mount a comeback. But this time she slipped up. Not by much, but enough to open the door for her opponent, who cannot take advantage. The lead stays at 3. So forget the temperature, the winds suddenly changed, and both women have cooled off. Back-to-back 9s for Jensen spell trouble. Now would Sara let her off the hook? Much to everyone's surprise, she would. And then some, giving back a point when she could have gone up by 4. So the plot doth thicken, and it would even more in the 5th and deciding end. Sonicson would later say the heat and sweaty palms made it hard to keep everything under control, but the conditions were the same for both of these archers, including the stiff breeze that continued blowing in off the sea. Down by a deuce, Tanya would take the first shot. Jensen trying to bite into that lead a little bit more. A 9 would not help. But then again, it didn't hurt as much either thanks to Sonicson's shot just inside the line. 2 shots left in the quiver. Jensen would bear down and deliver a brilliant effort. Still, Sara was up to the challenge. Sonicson summoning up a 10 of her own to keep Tanya at bay. If Jensen was going down, she was going down swinging. Tanya threw her last punch and connected. Now, had she put up the 149 points that she posted in her semifinal upset of Sara Lopez, she'd have won the gold medal. But that match wasn't on the beach, and Sara Sonicson is every bit as tough an adversary as Sara Lopez. On this day, she would braid together enough solid shots, enough clutch shots, to finally capture a World Cup gold medal. Nothing but love between these two competitors who will long remember their time in Antalya. It's really amazing to have 3 gold medals from here in Antalya. I came home from Shanghai with 3 silver medals. So it's like an amazing feeling to have right now. When we practice at home, I shoot a lot against Tanya. So we are at the same time good friends and competitors as well. And if I need advice, I call Stefan Hansen or Martin Damsbo. The level of archery in Denmark is incredible. While youth was served in the women's gold medal match, the old guard took center stage in the men's battle for bronze. Italy's Sultan of Smooth, Sergio Pagni, trying to avoid the guillotine. America's Braden Gelantine, who was bearing down on his 2nd medal of the day. Both throwing haymakers, trying to land the knockout blow. The Sultan slips just a bit, but he got a reprieve. The G-Man up by 1 arrow to go. Sergio not about to go away. He'd stick the 10 and then stick around to see what would happen. A 9 by Braden would send this to a shoot-off, but Gelantine controls his emotions and comes through at crunch time. A classic battle, and this time the decision goes to Braden Gelantine by a single point.
Braden Gelantine walking away with the bronze medal indeed. A 1 point.
The USA's Steve Anderson trending up these days? Most def. The 29-year-old American making it to the big show on the beach, the men's gold medal finals. Olympic coach Mel Nichols had his back as Anderson got ready to go head-to-head with Chen Shonswan of Chinese Taipei. A remarkable story capping off a remarkable debut. This was Mr. Chen's first appearance on the world stage, and he'd worked his way through the field to reach the marquee matchup. Even more impressive, his 3-point lead after the first 6 arrows. So Big Steve had some catching up to do. The former basketball player locked in on that target 50 meters downstream, but was just off the mark. That meant Mr. Chen had another chance to put a little more daylight between himself and his challenger, but Chen leaves that first shot of the third end just outside the line, and the lead stays at 2. The 6'7" Andersen facing a tall order, and it appeared to grow even taller when that arrow sailed left, once again giving Chen a chance. A chance to grow his lead to 3. He catches the line, it counts as 10, and now Andersen's trying to scramble out of an even deeper hole. You don't reach a match like this, though, without being able to handle some heat, and the highly ranked American responds to the pressure. That stops the bleeding and keeps him in contention. In fact, he's back in business again after a 9 flies off the bow of Mr. Chen. Now, the judges would eventually adjust a few scores for both archers, but when the dust died down, the bottom line, still the same. 2 points were all that stood between these two combatants, with only 6 arrows to go for the gold. Andersen had won the bronze in Wrocław 2 years ago and the silver at the indoor championships this winter. Could he come all the way back to claim his first individual gold medal? He seemed to think so, making a big statement with the first shot of the fourth end. Could Chen counter? He could indeed. That 10, a Taipei parry to fend off Andersen. But for how long? A lot depended on how long Steve could stand at full draw. Turns out that would be a long time, perhaps too long. His second shot dipping down into the 9 ring, the American once again flirting with a bigger deficit. Sometimes, though, you can get away with flirting. Chen taking his time too and letting Andersen off the hook as he goes low. This match begging for someone to take control. Steve Andersen perfectly willing to do that. In his own deliberate way, he delivered, checking into the high rent district, hoping he might cut that lead down to 1. But once again, Mr. Chen would keep him at bay, holding Andersen off at arm's length with another clutch shot of his own. At this point, the big difference in this match, an 8 by Andersen way back in the second end. Take away that arrow and this affair might have been closer, or tied, or Chen would have been trying to play catch-up. That 8 had changed the complexion of this match and put Andersen behind the 8 ball coming down the stretch. That 9, not what he needed when it mattered the most. The man from a town called Bountiful, hoping to reap a bountiful harvest far from home. But the same could be said for young Mr. Chen, who traveled all the way from Taipei, dreaming of a moment like that. The moment when he could finally put the match out of reach. Now, the final shots may have been mere formalities, but in this sport, you never know, so Andersen soldiered on, doing his best, while hoping his opponent might let him back into the match. That was not in the script Mr. Chen was writing. In fact, he was putting the finishing touches on his masterpiece. The American field archer would compliment Chinese Taipei, calling that nation the new Korea on the world archery scene, a compliment that did not seem like an overstatement considering this breakout performance by Mr. Chen. In his first international competition anywhere in this big wide world, the 21-year-old with the daring do got the job done. Beginner's luck? Time will tell, but a score of 144 would make him the king of Coney Beach on just about any given day. So it's silver for Steve Andersen, who seems destined to stand on a podium towering above all the rest someday. But in 2017, Taipei's Chen Shuan would claim the top spot in Turkey. This is like a dream. I've seen the World Cup finals on TV and YouTube, and I never thought I would stand in this arena and shoot. Since we have a major competition this summer, we've hired a compound coach from New Zealand, and he's given us lots of knowledge and skill. So as a result, we've improved. In the future, some of us will become compound coaches and teach the younger archers. I want to go to the finals in Taipei and aim for a top 8 finish at the World Championships. And then, hopefully, I will reach the finals.
A lot of good things going to start the season, and you guys predicted me to win a medal at some point this year, so I proved you right, I guess. I would have loved for it to be gold, but stepping up the podium is always great, no matter what. It's never a failed tournament if you find yourself on the podium.